Welcome to 2024 Our Story, a podcast exploring what it's like to be attending Scripps College in a moment when the world is recovering from a global pandemic. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Alyssa.
And today we are going to start our conversation kind of where we left off last time in terms of dealing with midterms, the transition from online to in-person, specifically around mental health and dealing with outside pressures, not only with the academic work you're dealing with in the moment, but also what we have to do in the future and thinking about our futures. Because midterms came up so fast, I feel like it's also important to address whether or not you feel prepared for them, and whether the adjustment period that was provided to us was enough.
Yeah, I have been thinking about this a little bit, just kind of reflecting on how fast everything is moving. I really don't think we were given enough time to adjust to in-person school. I think oddly enough, when we were online, the system, I'm not going to just say like professors because that's like kind of specific to each class. And I don't know if there's as much like each professor can do in the semester, but like I think the system as a whole just really didn't take into account as much maybe mental health of students when returning to in person. A lot of the times when there is kind of a conversation about that, it's about like COVID and what you are and are not comfortable with doing, making sure that you can go to class still online. And those are still all really important things, but I have not heard very much conversations at all about giving students time to adjust or what can you do when you're adjusting to in person, because it's a lot, honestly. We got the spiel a bunch of times about, oh, we know you're online and we know that it's hard, but honestly, for me personally, being in person is a lot harder than it was online. You know?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that is also kind of in part due to our privileged stance in where we were when the world went into pandemic shutdown. But I do agree. I think that it was because we were so isolated and because we had so much more time to really work at schoolwork. There was much less outside pressures and outside things that you had to deal with when we started college. And yeah, I agree. It's definitely, once we got here, it was definitely more of a transition for me. It was more of a figuring out life. Whereas when we started college in the pandemic, it was like just starting school again.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think like being able to have that one semester of being online for high school also made college feel like an extension of high school a little bit to me.
That is very
less
true.
like I was actually in college.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know, I think thinking about college lately has been a little bit tough because it's just always highlighted as just such an important time, which it is, but at the same time, we're all still figuring it out. Like you honestly figure out things as you go. So I feel like this pressure to kind of like have already a super strong stance on like what you're doing, what you're going to do, the impact of every single class that you're taking right now, or it just like puts a lot of this kind of pressure on being in college and finally really realizing like, wow, I'm here. I need to balance my life right now, but also have a hold on what I'm going to do after, which isn't maybe necessarily true. Like maybe it's not actually that big of a deal, but there's definitely that kind of internal conversation for me all the time.
No, I completely agree. And I've talked to other people about this too. And I think, honestly, I feel like a large part of this is because we're already sophomores coming in. And you have to decide, like, one of the largest things about being a sophomore here is that you have to, the end of the year, you make your decision about what your major is, what your minor is. And honestly, in my opinion, I think that being here in person is a much different experience than when we were online in terms of the classes and how you experience the class and how you decide what you really enjoy. And I think that the lack of having that in-person experience for the first year makes you jump right in and you're expected to already have an idea of what you want to do.
Yeah.
And what, like, what you want to do, and if there's anything else you want to explore while you're here. And it's only a year. Plus you have core 3. I think core 3 really adds on to the stress because that's a class you're required to take. That's one less class you can use to explore what you want to do. And I know like my advice, I'm very, very lucky that I have an idea of what I want to do. And my advisors were telling me like you should just like submit the major forms by the end of this semester so that you get priority for next semester when you're taking classes or when you're signing up for classes. But I know not everyone's in that boat, and that is a very scary position to be in.
Yeah, I definitely think it could be a helpful conversation thinking about what we have to do to declare our majors. And I don't know if it's just because of a lot of the schools that I've gone to, I've had these kind of strange required classes that I've had to take. Like in high school, I had these, it was just a strange system. I had a bunch of classes that I had to take and it just filled up a spot. And that's core right now. And it's kind of crazy to think that next semester we're going to have 4 open slots. But I do know that a lot of students are feeling this kind of anxiety about not being able to explore the classes that they want to, because I know that I have also been having like some trouble figuring out exactly what I want to do, and having that kind of space and time to explore.
Yeah, really having to come up with that decision so quickly emphasizes how short time is or how valuable it is. I know that the general education requirements, their goal is to have you complete those in the first few semesters, right? Like that's the goal, to get you to explore and see what options there are out there, especially if you come in not knowing what you want to do. And like the problem, I agree with that. I think that it's important, and it's different for each person depending on like what you come in knowing you want to do. Like I know that Chem 14 is required for all STEM majors. If they want to do anything in STEM, you got to fulfill that. And so like Chem 14 and 15 took up like 2 classes out of my 6 classes that I could choose from last year. And that was like, it's consuming. So everyone comes in with a different position, but also like, I think gen eds are good, but they also don't, there are some classes that you may want to explore, but which you can't explore, even if you wanted to fulfill a gen ed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I approached kind of that like required classes a little bit differently. I just kind of thought about, I first came in like I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I just wanted to get those out of the way. And I don't know. I just want to kind of like check off those boxes a little bit. I did enjoy some of the classes that I took from that, but I also don't think I used those classes to explore. Although I don't think that they're framed in a way that's trying to encourage students to use that to explore. Honestly, it does feel like you do have to check off those boxes, and the time is really short, you know? So I don't know. I do think that there's a little bit more flexibility with after you declare your major. There's like a little more flexibility, I think, than like we think, or you know.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think just I just don't think this conversation is had enough, and I'm not sure if it's because like the admin and advisors and everybody's having a really hard time adjusting back to in person and dealing with that, which is completely understandable. But I just don't think like it's talked about enough, specifically with maybe the sophomores not knowing, because all of a sudden we're like, wow, we have to declare. And I don't think like unless you're super sure about what you want to do, I think that it might be a little chaotic next semester figuring out for everybody.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think there's a lot that's on people's minds right now. And it's a lot of pressure because you not only have pressure on yourself from yourself, you have pressure from the college that's like, you need to decide what you want to do. It's coming up. Whether that be from the college, it's like from the general college feeling, or from your advisors who are like, you need to finally make a decision. Yeah. And you have like a semester granted, but you still feel it. And then there's also like, I know for some people there's outside pressures outside of the college where you have outside pressures asking you what you're gonna major in. It's like when you're making college decisions. It's like, where did you get in? Where are you going? It's constantly these questions that are coming up that are pressured.
Yeah.
And that have outside expectations that force you into this kind of this hold where you're just in an in-between. But
I mean, I do feel really lucky that I do get to kind of explore what I genuinely really want to do. I think also in this day and age, I think the way that careers are also structured, there's a lot more flexibility with people just changing with what they want to do. And it's not as set in stone, which is really nice. It's just so crazy to me to think that like I always have this like goal, high school, it was like get through high school, do really well because you want to get a good college. And then as soon as I stepped into college, I was like, okay, I made this goal. Now what the heck am I supposed to do? Where am I going? I haven't thought about this at all. I have just been going, trying to get into college. What do I do when I'm actually here? And then now that I'm here, I'm like, okay, am I just like thinking about midterms again? Like, do I just focus on midterms and just try to get through it week by week? Or do I have to start like broadening my perspective and thinking, okay, that's great. I did these classes. I think I really like this major. What the heck am I going to do with it? Like, what am I going to do kind of with my life, which is just so weird to think about. It's kind of funny.
It's funny. It's intimidating too. It's like so much to think about.
Yeah.
But I think honestly, like we're going to get through it. If you're ever feeling down, listen to this one section of our podcast. No, I think it's very challenging, but I think it's also important to realize that everyone else or a lot of other people are going through the same thing and are struggling with the same thoughts and the same process that we're all going through, and that we're all here for each other.
Yeah.
In the end.
Yeah.
"2024 Our Story" is published through Scripps Communities of Resources and Empowerment. This episode was edited by Ellen Hu, and Instagram graphics are designed by Alyssa Wend. Callie is courtesy of Wadaboy on Pixabay. If you were interested in joining us on an episode, please fill out the Google form available within our Linktree. You can find that link, as well as more content, on our Instagram page at 2024 Our Story Podcast. Also be sure to check out SCORE's October Fall Fest on July 27th and our Sound Zine Making Party on the 30th. To find times and locations for these events, check out the SCORE newsletters in your inbox. That's everything we have for you today. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye!